Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for me. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Feel like a dynamite, ready to explode right up in the sky. I need you to listen, I need you to hear, and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. Town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Titan Esports. We're here for week 2 of the Titan Divinity League with a matchup in Group B featuring Funny Business Salesmen versus Cerberus. It's a best of 3. My name is Ferris. I'm here to show the world. I'm joined by Heat on the caster desk today. Heat, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. I'm ready for this. I see some huge KDAs over here on the side of FBS. I want to see if they can use that in their series tonight and see who's really going to pop off and show off for this team and who's going to be the carries.
Yeah, exactly. And FBS, they had a really good start to their run here in the Divinity League. They started with a win, a 2-0 win at that. And on the other side, Cerberus, they had an opposite start. They are 0-1 right now, 0-2 game record, although their matches were close. And so for Cerberus, they're going to be itching to get themselves a couple wins, at least maybe 2, so that they can get a series record on the board, because their games were close. One went to 40 minutes, the other was 30 minutes. It was hard-fought battle, so they're hungry and ready, while Funny Business Salesmen, they are willing to or ready to keep their record, their clean slate going and start a sort of a trend of dominance here in Divinity.
Yeah, that's the biggest part about these series and these leagues going on. You don't want to start 0-2 and 0-3. It just gets harder from there. You want to definitely keep your mental going. So for Cerberus tonight, they're definitely going to have to alternate in what they're doing, change their play styles. It seems like FBS wants to get games done quick, get it over with, and keep their record going. So if they can keep up with the momentum that FBS throws at them, they can definitely get their first win tonight.
And we're moments away from the game 1 draft. And let's talk a little bit about the draft here. I saw that both of these teams really like to play front to back, sort of standard 5v5 play styles. A lot of Jinx picks, especially for Funny Business Salesmen. And they were playing more tank top side and in the jungle. Like a Mumu was being played twice by Funny Business Salesman. Batman took that into the jungle there. And so I wonder if that's still going to be the contested strategy here between these two teams, or if maybe they adapt a little bit and go for a more early game focused style, maybe a poke style composition. But I think the picks to look at here are the Jinx and the Amumu, as these were picks that popped up a lot in previous series, at least for Funny Business Salesmen. So Heat, if you could maybe attest to those picks and why they're so contested right now.
Well, honestly, my philosophy for every single team that I'm on or game that I'm playing is keep it simple, stupid. So, I mean, a Mumu, Jinx, tank top laner, carry mid laner, or scaling Syndra, Smolder, Veigar, anything like that. And that mid lane is really going to help out too. A Kali, I think, was thrown out in the chat earlier. So, with that being said, FBS is my play style. I know there's some crazy stuff going on that I might want to see tonight too, like a Yone, Yasuo, the Wind brothers have been shown in Worlds. I know a lot of World stuff has been going on with this new patch that we're playing on today. And I mean, Kog'Maw has been ridiculous as well. So I think whatever team can throw a couple of tanks out there and a couple of pick champs in there with a Kog'Maw for that reliability in the back end of the game. When you hit those 40, 50-minute games, those pick comps and those poke comps just really, unless you're playing perfectly, right? Are not going to get you that win. And those poke comps they're pretty squishy at the end. Those tanks get pretty tanky, and your mid lane is going to be crazy involved as well as that bot lane too. So whatever champs teams are picking tonight, I just hope they're going to play it safe and keep their vision lines ahead of where they need to be. A lot of these games will be won off of vision, and a lot of the picks and like the plays being made are just because of simple vision scores off of the Baron and Dragon Pits. Once you're at that laning phase there, that's where the whole game's played out.
And I like what you mentioned about the Akali picks, the Yone having so much presence at Worlds, because there's been Yone games that have been played by Alpha and even a Akali game for Funny Business Salesman's mid laner as well. And they went 13-1 to round out their second game, where they ended up picking up the series win. So potentially another contested pick, and something that Cerberus might want to look at when they're prepping their draft, because they see that and they say, okay, well, this player can really pilot these strong champions, especially a Yone who is so prevalent in the meta. And then you talked about the Kog'Maw as well. Yeah, Gabriel Leo played the Kog'Maw in Cerberus's game 2 that they ended up losing, but it's a pick that's actually very strong. It's being picked a lot. There's a lot of mage bots that are being picked on 14-19, but the Kog'Maw is one of those traditional styled AD carries that is still being picked and has a lot of flexible builds. You can build the standard DPS AD Kog'Maw, Blade of the Rune King, into the Rage Blade, but there's also the ability power power DPS build, a Gnasher's Tooth with a Rage Blade, and then there's your Comet Poke Mage Kog'Maw, which I find as an ADC main very frustrating to play against and very difficult to play into. It feels horrible, and I absolutely hate laning against it. So there is variety for both of these teams in the draft, and so I'm interested to see, as we're close to getting into that first draft for game number 1, what it is we're actually going to get from both of these teams. And, you know, for favorites, based on the short amount of things we've seen from both of these teams, you have to favor Funny Business Salesmen as the general favorite going into this, just based off of the minimal knowledge that we have.
Yeah, with that knowledge being said too, high KDAs means quick, instinctual fights here. That means that the jungler or whoever's making these plays here, I've seen the mid laner and the AD carry as well had a huge KDA difference. That means they know what they're doing, but they're just doing it. They're not thinking about it too hard. They've been in situations before. They're steamrolling these teams, and that's what's giving them the huge KDAs here. That's just based off of what the stats are saying right now. And on the other part of that, if Cerberus is not ready for that type of play style, they have to completely calculate everything that they're doing so FPS does not feel comfortable with the leads that they're used to having. It's really hard to say and even harder to do. So hopefully they can draft themselves into a 1-win here. If they get that first game going, I think that'll make FPS kind of think about what they're doing a little bit more here. You don't want them to just be instinctually in their play style and take everything off that map before you even get a chance to figure out what your team count's supposed to be doing.
Absolutely, and we're now here into the draft for game number 1. Again, this is Funny Business Salesman going up against Cerberus, and this is the Titan Divinity League. We have FBS. They selected blue side for themselves, so I'll be interested to see what their priority is right now. We got a jungle ban and a mid ban for FBS. On the other side, Cerberus taking away the Udyr, and then the Seraphine, which had some presence in these teams' previous matches. So obviously they've been doing their homework. They've been seeing what their opponents have been playing, what they like to take up. The Kog'Maw, like we just talked about, has now been taken away as well. So that won't be played, at least from the side of Gabriel Leo, and a nice takeaway there from FBS as we head into the first pick with the Amumu band as well on R3.
Yeah, I like that Seraphine ban as well. Seraphine just kind of can go anywhere and be a menace anywhere they go with the ultis and the skill that they have. Yone being that first pick out there for FPS. Maybe go top lane, maybe go mid lane. It could even be a bot lane play too. You never know out of this style of Divinity. They can throw whatever they want at you, especially with FPS feeling so confident in their 1-0 lead so far. I like the Nocturne pick as well, but that's going to be really hard to deal with a tank juggler.
That it will be. And it feels like we're at Worlds right now, Heat, with these drafts. You know, the Yone immediately on the blue side is something that we see a lot of at the highest level. The champ is just really strong right now, and Alpha likes to play it. So that is going to be a solid pickup there for the side of Funny Business Salesman. And then we have the response, which is the Vex. So we've seen a lot of things that have tried to answer this Yone in all around the world when how pick this strong or how strong this pick is on this patch. What do you think about the Vex into the Yone?
I love Vex as a champion. It just really sucks when you hit 40 minutes and you've killed your mid laner 5 to 10 times and you have a huge lead on somebody and all of a sudden your champion just kind of falls off on that damage. But it's a great way to get fights started, and you can kind of just be that engage, kind of get blown up, but throw your Zanyas out there, keep everybody on their toes, especially with like a Renata or a Sejuani in the map as well. You can kind of disengage a lot of that fight too. You don't have to just really go in towards a champion that just wants to go right at you. You can also go in, kind of run away, help your whole team out too. Cerberus has a game plan that they're already working towards. You can kind of see the Shen is going to be there for the safety, as well as a top lane kind of just hold it down up there. Make sure Yone does not get fed if Yone does go top lane, and that not let some Blitzcrank ban in that bot lane makes you feel like they're going to have another Jinx or just hyper carry AD carry in that bot lane for FPS.
And I understand the Blitzcrank ban, because that's obviously annoying, getting one of your champions hooked away for a quick pick. But the Nautilus, I feel like the Renata would actually like to play into with the hostile takeover. But those are the choices here for FPS and their bans. The Sejuani and the Renata leads me to believe that Funny Business Salesman is looking for a very skirmish-heavy comp with the focal point surrounding this Yone pick, and especially so now that the Ziggs has been locked in. Now, the Ziggs still could technically be flex picked. Yone can still go into the the top lane to face the Shen, but with the Mundo lock in here on B5, we now can assume that the Ziggs is going to go into the bot lane, and that the Yone and the Sejuani mid-jungle duo here, a melee champion with Sejuani is so nice, is going to be what Titan Esports, or sorry, not Titan Esports, I was looking at the wrong logo, Funny Business Salesmen is going to play around, essentially, as we see the Rakan and the Kai'Sa locked in for Cerberus, a very powerful bot lane duo.
We got a lot of funny business here on the Funny Business Salesman side. We have Yone, no, that's, dude, there's a lot going on here. So Yone in the mid lane, obviously, Moon in the top lane, Sedge with the Ziggs are not a bot lane. The thing that I like about the Ziggs here is that Ziggs doesn't really have to be in these fights at all if they don't need him. So that Ziggs can be in the bot lane or pushing whatever lane needs to have a tower taken down. And Ziggs keeps the rest of that team in an issue where they're kind of backed into a corner. They can't really leave that Ziggs open for any time at all after that laning phase there. Ziggs is really just a menace on the map and can always get away unless you have like 2 or 3 people on top of that person. Kai'Sa, I don't think, can run that Ziggs down unless there are 3-4 items onto it. They got to blow them up completely. The AP build might not be a way to go here, but I think you are kind of low on the AP with Vex having to fall off on this one. I do like Cerberus' team comp a lot more compared to FPS, though, because of the traditional style. You got tank top lane, engage / damage in the jungle, but the Rakan kind of makes up for that with the Vex CC, so it kind of gives you a second tank right there, abilities-wise, even though they should be a little bit more squishy than usual. The problem with FPS, they scale infinitely here with the health on the Mundo, the Sejuani being just everywhere on the map, and Nocturne being able to really deal with that. So look for FPS to make pick plays and Cerberus to kind of keep their team together.
Well, you said you liked the Cerberus comp better, and look at pro comps. They agree with you there, Heat. 55% to FPS's 44%. And the one thing that's standing out to me the most with Cerberus's team composition that they've drafted is their dive potential. Kai'Sa's killer instinct, the quickness from Rakan, the shadow surge from Vex, paranoia, and on top of that you have Shen, who can join the team with the ultimate and can jump onto a Vex that's flown in, can jump onto a Nocturne that's flown in as well. So this is something that's very powerful from Cerberus's comp, and something that FPS is going to have to try and combat, especially at Grim, who, as the Ziggs, has a hard time peeling away from these big carries. And maybe Heat is where the hostile takeover from Corey can come in handy to stop all that dive from coming through.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be made here. The side of FPS has to kind of play perfect into the later part of the game here because of the amount of CC and potential that these champions have here on the side of Cerberus. This bot lane is one to follow. Rakan going right in.
Rakan goes in. This is what you're going to see a lot of. Kai'Sa and Rakan trade very well. The CC that he applies helps stack Kai'Sa's passive so they get lots of damage down. And so expect to see lots of trading, and Gabriel and Barolo really don't want to be pushed in by Grim so that they don't lose so many plates from Ziggs' excellent tower taking capabilities, like you did mention in the draft there, Heat. Let's look at the top lane. Ulti-Mice off the rip here, level 2 advantage, and we see another kill go the way of Cerberus. That's going to be Gabriel Leo picking that one up. An excellent start for the squad here 2 minutes into the game.
And this is how you have to make this happen. FPS is feeling like they're on top of the world right now with that 1-0 win, with their KDAs that they've had, the playmaking abilities that they are having. Cerberus coming out hot, coming in strong here, making sure they're able to keep that pressure on top of them. And this is what they need. They need early game damage, early game abilities. They have to keep the momentum up throughout the rest of this game before that Mundo, that Sejuani, and the Yone come online.
And Ultimice is going to drop here in the top lane as well. So Batman doing a good job of punishing the fact that the Shen used Flash. He couldn't push in this wave, and so gets punished there by the FBS jungler. So they get themselves a kill on the board, something back after things started to fall apart a little bit across the map. So the Shen, though, having a good time against this Dr. Mundo may be something that we're going to see a trend that's going to continue, is the Shen winning these trades against the Mundo, but maybe level 6 access to all that healing Mundo can actually survive later on.
Yeah, talk about what I want to see. I want to see Cerberus running it down on these dragons and the grubs and Baron. Any objective you have right now, once that Nodron hits level 6, just throw your bodies at them. You should be able to win these fights pre-6, and just keep farming that one out. We do see Sejuani looking for a kind of a trade here in the mid lane, though.
Here we go. Very talented is the target. Has flash available. Arctic Assault will land. Very talented. Going to try and walk this one off for the moment. Permafrost will go. They should be able to walk this one off. Just gets chunked out. Lieutenant Flowers is now here. And Barolo from the bot lane as well. So that's a flash burned from Alpha Yate. And that's going to be it for the play. Flash burned here on Yone. And it's a positive play overall for Cerberus.
You know, that's one wild card that I didn't want to bring up until I seen Yone play, but Yone is a hard champion. It doesn't do a lot abilities-wise when you read the abilities and when you play it yourself, but the timing is everything on that champion as Shen is walking down Faker again.
Shen. And the max HP damage is just so overwhelming in this 1v1 matchup, Heat.
Yeah, I mean, Shen will catch you off guard no matter what on that damage. It's like the Ornn as well. When you're playing top lane against the Ornn, the damage just comes out of nowhere, it feels like. But again, on the Yone, I mean, this champion can be really hard to deal with if you're not the most comfortable on top of it. Just because you're picking a champion that is good in the meta right now or that you've seen in Worlds does not mean it's good for the matchup that you have right now in this draft. I need to see a lot more out of this Yone here. I need to see Yone being timed out with the Sejuani on the ganks, using your E when Sejuani's in there, not before. But I'll leave that matchup alone, and we'll see what happens at level 6 here. With Sejuani getting level 6 and the Yone ult should be able to be enough to stop Vex in that mid lane there. Bot lane looking real even after that 1-0 kill from Kai'Sa, though.
They're going to go in with the grand entrance, and Corey hits the handshake and brings back Gabriel. And you mentioned level 6 Heat. That's really when Cerberus' composition comes online and when a lot of their kill pressure is online as well. Paranoia, I listed out all the ultimates earlier. Stand United available for Ultimice. You have to play very careful if you are anyone on FPS. You push too far, people can close the gap very quickly. So we'll pay attention now as level 6s are going to be coming in very soon, especially so on Lieutenant Flowers. He's going to be dictating the pace of how Cerberus play. This is going to be a dangerous spot for them, or at least for FPS, when they have to work their way around that. But on the other side, they have a pretty good skirmishing at level 6, like you were mentioning, but it looks like both junglers now onto the Drake is Lieutenant Flowers on the other side. The Grubs are going to go the way of FPS.
I'm seeing a lot of great wave states here so far early in the game. Vex did shove in that mid lane before Lieutenant Flowers got to the Dragon. That gives you an easy way to go here. Yone is going to push that right back into the mid lane because Sejuani being on the Grubs there, they're going to swap those objectives. I like the Dragon stacking more on Cerberus a little bit, because they're going to need that damage, and they're going to be fighting a lot here. So any tankiness you get, anything you get from these dragons is going to help out. The Hextech Drake is a great thing to take away from the Ziggs as well, because of that poke damage there. Kai'Sa having poke damage as well, going to help you out on your side. We'll see the Void Grubs finally taken down. But we're going to have to watch and see Ultimites and see where they're really going to use their ability, or send United towards, if it's going to be towards the mid lane more, if it's going to be more towards the bot lane, if they're going to use it for objectives. I'm really excited to see if Shen's going to make some hero plays going on, or just kind of split push and wait for somebody to go low and then use it for that. So look for them to really break out in this 7 minutes of the game. 1-3, 1K goal lead for the red team so far. And we see Batman going up towards his top lane. Does have...
There goes Ultimice. He's going to go in with the taunt, and that could be a detriment to him now as they have to burn the flash to get away from the Glacial Prison, but flash forward from Batman should be enough to finish off this kill. And T Faker, I can only assume that stands for Top Faker, claims the kill on the Mundo.
Yeah, I mean, Sejuani doing a great job right there, throwing the ultimate out first, making them flash, trying to pull that away there. Sometimes zoning ultimates are better, especially when you save your cooldowns for that Q. They had a perfect lineup for that with the vision as well. So great job by Batman to be proactive, as they know that the map's kind of divided here. Lieutenant Flower is really taking everything on this bot side of the map, looking towards his bot lane. Does have ulti ready to go.
They could be ready to go. They're waiting on the quickness from Barolo. That's a really important ability when you're going for a tower dive. But it's going to be Batman that's found here at the Krugs saying, what's going on here? There's so many people from the other team at my Krugs. Boys, let's get over here. Let's start giving them the what for and get him out of here. The handshake will land. Lieutenant Flower's in trouble for now, and Barolo's going to peel away from him. Good damage onto Batman, who's going to back off as well. No fatalities from either side here in the bot lane skirmish within the jungle, and they're both going to retreat back towards their own bases and get some honey fruit there to heal up.
Yeah, great job by Batman, giving Lieutenant Flowers the business and letting him know that you can't just walk into my jungle and take everything that's in front of me, having the nerves of steel to fight that one out. Barolo's not done yet, though, as they will trade this one back and forth in that bot lane.
Now we see both junglers on the opposite sides of the map right now. They got a lot of camps up, so they're going to be clearing away those camps for the moment, and there's still ultimate available here. Paranoia available for Lieutenant Flowers Heat, so still yet to use that ability as Batman's Glacial Prison coming up. And once again, Ultimice is overextended, so we could see another topside gank here soon.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. I was just going to talk about the wave states here, too. Everybody on each lane here is kind of just keeping it even, making sure that there's no pushing presence here from each side of the map. Shen has been trying to push a little bit forward here. Do see a little bit of a bug, but we'll try and yap this one out, make sure we can get this spectate back. With that being said, Shen has been trying to push out the top lane, trying to get some damage, get some plates going on because of that first blood lead. Great job by Batman to go up there and kind of help out their top laner, make sure Mundo does not fall off the side of the map there, making sure that Mundo keeps up with CS as well. A lot of items you need on that champion to be the menace that you want and go where you please. With that being said, though, I need Lieutenant Flowers to kind of pick up the pace and use that ultimate on a big play here. You do have the Shen ultimate remaining. Do have a good ult from the Vex. Could make a play on a Dragon, but Dragon's going to be gone for another minute or two here. You're 207 on the left side of the map there. And Grub shouldn't spawn for another 30 seconds. So maybe you make a 4-man play in that top lane. Maybe you just save it for that 2-minute Dragon. But honestly, you might fall behind here because Yone's getting even. Batman is looking proactive, looking for stuff to do. Ziggs is down there farming away, down only 10 CS after that Kaisa kill and the kind of the Krug play from Lieutenant Flowers bringing pressure down there. What do you think about the game state so far?
Well, it's been going well topside for Cerberus. The solo kills have come through, but like you said, Batman's done a great job of punishing the overextensions of Ultimice, and that's something that Ultimice needs to keep in mind is where they're positioning relative to where the jungler is. That way you can get these kills and then maintain this lead. The bot lane looks nice. The Ziggs with range advantage has not been able to punish the Kaisa very much. Still a 10 CS lead in favor of Gabriel Leo. So things are going well, but now very importantly, we talked about the level 6. As you said, you wanted to see something from Lieutenant Flowers Heat with the Paranoia. I agree, because your composition excels when you're getting picks. Now, if they're not exercising that strength around the map, then they will actually get, or at least have a harder time in the 5v5, and that's something that's a little bit easier to execute. So they have a difficult execution composition. They have to be coordinated. They have to know when they're going in, and everyone else can contribute to that play. And we need to see how well that they can do that now that they've hit the level 6s, though. But yeah, we have a just a little bit of a delay here on the camera, and we are getting that fixed up. And very soon we're going to bring it back to the game and have this all running and underway. But you talk about game state, it's only a 300 gold deficit here between these two teams, and next objectives are coming up. So if nothing happens in the meantime, then I expect to see maybe some things happen around that time, as well. As we're getting updates now from our producer. We've lost 2 minutes from the game, so we'll miss out on 2 minutes of action, but when we get the stream or the feed back up, then, as we are, I assume, about to now, we fast forwarded 2 minutes. So we've seen a couple kills. I do believe there's 4 kills now on the side of Ultimice, and they've completed that Heartsteel now. So they're feeling pretty good in this top side here, are they, Heat?
Yeah, Ultimice went so hard he broke the game in the spectator delay there. But thank God Titan Divinity, Titan Esports is so professional that they had a backup feed going on. What stream do you know has 2 feeds at the same time? It's insane. We have a great production crew. Shout out to them. And Ultimice keeping the game alive here for Cerberus. It was never gone, but I mean, first blood and then 2 solo kills in the lane for that Shen and that Kaisa. I mean, you think you would keep up that momentum. I know you're waiting on Lieutenant Flowers to hit level 6. We have a huge 4v4 that might happen here. Sejuani getting pretty antsy with their vision into that bot lane. Leo's caught out.
Leo is caught out. There's the paranoia that's going to be used. The target for the moment will be Corey, but I don't think they have the damage to take this one out. No, they do not. The hostile takeover will run through. It'll hit Gabriel, put some damage onto the Nocturne. In the meantime, the Dragon's being started on the other side, but there's an excellent handshake there from Corey. The Glacial Fissure comes through, and the Mega Inferno Bomb is enough to bring down the jungler here from Cerberus. That certainly means that Ocean Drake will go the way of Funny Business Salesman. Very talented is hovering, but there really isn't any play now that your jungler is dead as long as the smite does end up coming through. And that ability will not take it away. Nice play from FPS.
And you can see why FPS is 2-0 right now. The communication might be a little bit stronger here on the blue side. I'm not sure what was going on. There was like 3 ultimates used in that bot lane there. They were trying to dive Gabriel Leo in that bot lane with Kaisa. Throw out the Sedge ult, throw out the Renata ult. And Nocturne ate that up and got the pressure off of them. I'm not sure why the rest of the red team didn't try and help them out. But Cerberus getting caught out in the back end of that dragon fight. Lieutenant Flowers taking the brunt end of that Ziggs ultimate. And that leads FPS into evening out the gold and getting their own dragon here. But still down 3 kills. So keep in mind, Cerberus has a pit comp here that they want to use and use it correctly. So look for that mid lane shoving out. You see that Renata will be rotating up to that top lane here to get that second part of Grubs that should be spawning soon. Well, actually, that might be a Rift Trail going on. We missed that little bit part of it. Barolo caught out.
Barolo's going to be spotted getting vision down. But Batman's there to sweep it right away. Says, you can't take a look into my jungle, man. This is mine. It's all mine. You can't see nothing about what I'm doing. But yeah, 3 Grubs for each team and a Drake. So the neutral objectives have gone quite even in that regard. Rift Herald is going to be the next objective up here. And we talked about picks for Cerberus. Corey's Hex, or sorry, I almost said Hextech Ultimatum. No, the Hostile Takeover. That's the right ability. That's the one that you need to watch out for. That's the major disengage tool for FPS and something that can be very important to them in these fights. You saw it in the bot lane dive, and now with the Rift Herald being started up, we'll see if the contest comes through.
Yeah, Rift Herald already up there. Flowers starting that one out. That should be a good play for them. Barolo going in.
On now, straight into the fight. Here we go. Barolo is the target. And Barolo is actually the one that went in. Grim is the target, and he will be taken down. The hostile takeover comes through. The trade is not quite there yet. Alpha, you're going to have to kill the Nocturne right beside you. It actually ends up doing that. This Yone is very tanky, but Ultimice is taking over the fight for the moment. Double kill goes over to the Vex, and Gabriel's here as well. The Q3 from the Yone is good for a double, but that will end the fight. It's 4 down. No teleport from Faker, so they could not join the fight.
And that's what you need out of this team right now. Cerberus shooting first. They're going in first. They took their initiative and they got that fight going on with Barolo and the backup from Lieutenant Flowers. I like the play right there. They fought for that vision as well. That's a Ziggs bomb going down. Talented.
Huge Mega Inferno bomb.
We'll walk this one out though. I was waiting for a Q to come down from the side lane as well, or not trying to get that kill on top of that. I do believe the bot lane tower is going to go down from Faker, so they got something out of it. But honestly, you give up another couple fights of that, and your whole map should be gone here if Cerberus can keep up the momentum.
So definitely a very nice play. They're up 1k gold. Want to keep the pressure on. Again, I do want to note, with 2 frontline characters, it can be difficult to fight this team 5v5 as it goes on later, and you have this scaling of a Yone. So to keep the pressure on for Cerberus is something that they want to do. They want to look towards cracking these towers now, and the Rift Herald hasn't gone down yet for either of these teams. And all of the chaos that happened, the objective's still up, so we might still see the same sort of situation happen in the next coming minutes as these teams fight around the mid priority and the vision here. And ultimates are coming back up for pretty much everyone. Stand United still on cooldown. The teleport soon to come up for T Faker, so maybe they can get involved in this play as well. And it's difficult to actually have that same amount of impact when you can't move as effectively as the Shen can.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of games went off Rift Herald too, so I like the amount of attention that red team's given towards it. If they can get this and crack open that mid lane, they can have a lot better of a vision line to make these picks happen.
Alpha taking a ton of damage there. The Void Seeker will hit as well. So chunk to half is the Yone, and that doesn't bode very well for FPS ahead of this potential fight. You don't want to use summoner spells, you don't want to lose HP. They have teleport, so that's going to have to be committed here. They can't really leverage that. Going to teleport straight to the mid lane is Alpha.
They'll let that one go. Good little trade there to get Yone off the map. Did have TP to get right back into it, and they're going to try and just shove down mid lane here on the blue side. The wave state should be a good way to start this fight.
Barolo goes in with the quickness. The Shadow Surge is going to miss, though, and that is the hostile takeover, which is going to be very big here for FPS. Stand United going to grant some shielding for the moment, and everyone gets out of this exchange. No teleport here for T Faker, so they can't get involved in this play, but 4v5 FPS, they hold their ground.
And you can see why Vex is very, very good in this middle to late game here. They missed the ultimate, but they are able to use their fear to get them a little bit better of just positioning there in that middle of that fight. It could have ended very badly for Cerberus if Very Talented was not able to get off that fear, and that will save them to fight another day here. You do see that Red Team has all of their wards on the top side of the map, so this Dragon should be pretty free for FPS if they can get their team back onto it. This might be another 5v5. This could be a lot more deadly than that mid lane fight, though.
The ultimates are down. A lot of flashes were actually burned. There's still a ton of flashes, though, actually on Cerberus here. And it's going to be FPS that's on top of this dragon. They're going to try and usher in Lieutenant Flowers, but Lieutenant Flowers is trying to get in to steal away the Drake, but there's too much damage that's coming out from FPS. They get the first kill of the fight, plus the dragon onto Very Talented now, who has no way of escaping with no spells available. And a poor fight take there from Cerberus. They didn't have what it took to retake the pit, and they get punished for it.
That's a little rough right there. That's the last person you want kind of going down and trying to go for a number 3 dragon on the map here. Rifshow's back up as well, and now the whole team of FPS can just walk right top lane and take both objectives for no retaliation out of the team. I mean, Lieutenant Flowers is half of your engage there. Didn't have the ulti yet, but they could have waited a little bit here and try to reset for that Rift Herald. I don't like that play, but that play style is going to help out a lot here if there's a Baron that needs to be stolen, or if there's a lot of Elder Drakes going down here in the later part of the series. Keep that mindset. Just know when to use it and when not to use it there. It's too early in the game, and you're too even in the game here to be doing plays like that. That's the type of plays that's going to make FPS just kind of steamroll their way into their own lead here and take the game away from you. They're already sitting on 2 dragons, and now the Rift Herald. They can send the Rift Herald, or they can run it right down mid. I don't think there's much retaliation there, but that Ziggs being able to siege down, Renata being able to keep the Ziggs alive, Yone Sejamuna able to sit on top of that Ziggs as well. So, I mean, honestly, FPS might just be a full-on siege comp at this point on, and they're able to fight these fights out if they're not taken correctly here by Cerberus. So there's a lot of X factors here in this game that I can't wait to see.
And you can see in that previous fight how ultimate reliant Cerberus is, as we're going to see the engage onto Alpha. The Paranoia has been used. Going to try and trade the 1-for-1, but there's the Stand United to keep the Vex alive. And so that is 2 key ultimates used here, but they get the kill. So what can FPS get in response to this, if anything? In the next couple minutes, there will be no ultimates, so maybe they can get a fight win later on.
I like that. They use a lot of ultimates on there for that Yone, but keeping Yone off the map when there's some pushing going on is really great to have happen. TP in the mid lane here, and these teams are getting scrappy. They don't want anybody to get away ahead without anything happening or any retaliation happening on the other end as well. So, I mean, look for these teams to keep fighting back and forth. Whatever team has 1 or 2 members standing is going to win this game here, but you can't really tell which team is really ahead so far. Gold leads in the stand here with the FPS, and they are down 4 kills, but up 2 dragons and that Rift Herald there will be summoned in the mid lane, and they're going to go for a siege.
Yes, they are. It's going to be Batman to ride the Herald like his own little purple Batmobile, and it's going to be good enough to take down the mid lane tower. Barolo's gone in, but Barolo, I don't know if you want this play. There's the Arctic Assault plus the Glacial Prison. Onto Rakan they go, who went into the quickness, but there's the hostile takeover to counter any re-engage that Cerberus rather would want. The Rift Herald is going to die, but another excellent handshake is going to go down onto Lieutenant Flowers, the Mega Inferno Bomb, but Batman has engaged too far forward. The Shadow Surge will hit Grim. Full HP is the Ziggs. Does Very Talented want any more? They do not. And this is, overall, a winning play for FPS. Is now a T Faker. Top Faker babies found Ultimice. Here's the 1v1 for the ages here in the Divinity League. Or maybe it's just going to fizzle out as T Faker says, okay, you're bringing your homies. I'm out of this one.
There's a lot to break down on that one, but ultimately, the sieging is what's going to work here for FPS. The split push, the 1-3-1s, and the Rift Herald. So if Cerberus lets any Barons go in this game, it could be game over for them. So watch for them to keep their vision score really high up here on this top side of the map. There's some scary things going on here for FPS that Cerberus I don't think was ready for because of this pit comp here. You got to be a little more proactive, a little bit more front worthy here in this mid lane. Get these wave states going. Make Shen a little bit more a part of these fights here. That's like their bread and butter here. The Shen ulti kind of saving with the Nocturne ult as well. But I think FPS is ready for anything.
Oh, big handshake from Corey. The Arctic Assault will actually miss. And so Barolo, lucky dog, going to escape away from that one. And I feel like from the side of FPS, they are having a much better time as a team making these plays happen. And I also want to shout out Corey. We just saw a handshake land. There's been a lot of crucial handshakes, and the hostile takeovers have been nice from this player too. It's been a very key part about the success of FPS's team fighting. And they've looked just stronger around the map, utilizing the Rift Herald, making smarter decisions around the objective fights, which has gotten them 2 dragons and one of the pairs of grubs as well. So they look like the stronger macro team right now, as Barolo kind of in no man's land here, going to get spotted out by Top Faker. And they're saying, what the heck is the Rakan doing here, man? This is kind of illegal, but able to get out with that grand entrance, and these teams setting up for this next Infernal Drake.
There's no laws when you're playing Rakan, apparently, but there is when you're playing Nocturne. And I thought a fight was going to break out on that one. I think they're all going to flash their ultimates. FPS looking very cohesive with their initiative here to fight these fights out. Core the Rose landing everything on Mr. Nada as well. This dragon's getting pretty low.
Here starts this fight now. They're trying to keep the jungler of Cerberus away from this objective. Remember, this is soul point for FPS. This is something that they want. Ultimice is going to try and tank up for the team. In with the quickness goes Barolo. Going to stun up a lot of members. The charm will land. It's actually going to be the Shen that takes the Drake, but the fate seal there from Alpha is huge. And this will be all FPS after that. That was gorgeous from the FPS mid laner. That's 4 down. Gabriel Leo soon to follow here in the 1v1 up against Batman. The permafrost will stick, and this should be the lady on the board picking up the final kill. The bomb from downtown. The shutdown goes to Grim. What a team fight for FPS. They probably get Baron too.
A little bit of fool's gold there for Cerberus. They got the dragon, but at what cost right now? It's a little bit of gold-plated iron right there for them to take home to their gray screens and watch FPS take down the Baron. This could be the game, set, and match that FPS needed to end this game out. This is what they wanted to do. They didn't want to fight them. They're just kind of taking the fights that are getting thrown at them by Cerberus. I don't believe FPS has been wanting to kind of throw their heads at them, but I mean, that's what the champions they picked for them. So watch the siege to come right back out again. Faker been doing a good job of trying to keep up with the pushing of the top and bot lane here. Up 20 CS here on the top lane, and now 5-2 compared to the rough start they had in the beginning against that Shen. Shen trying to find their voice and their playstyle again in the back part of this game here. They got the dragon on that fight, but the ulti is just not enough to keep anybody alive here. Lieutenant Flowers trying to take down the Ziggs. Ziggs getting that early Zanya's there as well. So I mean, FPS, all they really have to do is keep doing what they're doing, and they can get this game 1 win and put Cerberus on their toes in the series.
I absolutely agree. After that play, it is very definitive that Funny Business Salesman is in the driver's seat for this game. The Glacial Prison will be spell shielded there by Lieutenant Flowers. Nice disengaged. But there's not a lot of follow-up right now for FPS, but here comes the hostile takeover plus the Mega Inferno Bomb. That was huge, and here's the cavalry for the rest of the team. I like what they're doing, forcing the fights while they're ahead. There's nothing that Cerberus can really do. Ultimice is a tanky man, but with no follow-up, he's about to fall soon. Has to burn Flash to get out of here. The tier 2 is not long for this world, and they are just starting to flex their muscles, flex their wallets, and take over this game.
Yeah, League can really be a game of cat and mice and chess or whatever you want to call it here. And FPS is just playing every move correctly and taking away the whole board right now. First inhib going to go down here in that mid lane. Great job by FPS to just smother out Cerberus. There's nowhere to go and nothing really to do. Cerberus either has to sit there and watch this happen or send everybody at this team here. But you got to be careful with these chokeholds that Renata are. Made that whole fight happen in that last fight right there. Graham doing a ton of damage there with that ultimate as well, and the bombs to be hit and exploding exactly as they're thrown off of the walls. And I mean, there's just a lot going on for Cerberus to really diagnose what they need to get done. Because I mean, right now your back's against the wall. You have to sit there and watch FPS take your whole map and kind of scale this one out. Kaisa 3-1, but only really has a Guinso static. Doesn't really have their core 3 items yet. Same thing with the Vex. Vex is going to start falling off on damage already at this 30-minute mark here. And Nocturne is not the carry that you should be having here at this 27-minute mark here. 1 in 5 has the one item on top of that with I mean, Barola is really the shining light here for Cerberus, making huge plays with that locket as well and the ulti. If they can continue to have a Rakan get a 4 to 5 man knockup, maybe, just maybe, they can take down the Ziggs, take down the Yone. Somebody here on this team has to be taken down from FPS for them to get a fight happening.
The problem I found with Cerberus is they have got ultimates from Barolo that have hit multiple people from FPS, but the coordination and the follow-up really isn't there. They feel like a team that's all over the place with their team fights, and they're playing a composition that you and I talked about, Heat, and said that they had to be very coordinated. Is now, let's look at Ultimice, who's now in a situation that is not very much favoring himself. It's going to be Batman, it's going to be Alpha, they're tag team in the Shen right now. Make it 3 people, maybe even add another one for good measure, and that's going to be the Shen drop. But let's look on the other side. Both top laners getting beat up by multiple people. Let's see if Faker can get out of this one. Top Faker to be exact. The Flash is going to get him away, and this guy's got so much healing. I don't think there's any healing reduction on the side of Cerberus, and he's just gonna chop the Rakan to pieces. Are you serious? Lieutenant Flowers is next. Is this T Faker or is this T1 Faker? I don't really know the difference because the plays are phenomenal and they're just ending the game on the other side. This is incredible from the FPS top laner. They have the minions. Now he's going to TP and join. This is the miracle play. I can't believe what I'm watching. Excellent stuff from T Faker. That's the Nexus tower. This is the Nexus. Heat, the game has evaporated before our eyes.
Let's go FPS. Faker with that huge play up there. I was like, well, they were able to 4v1 the Shen. I wonder if the other side of the map can 4v1 the Mundo, and no, Cerberus could not. Faker waited all game for that kind of play right there. It was kind of giving the brunt end of the stick there and the laning phase in the early game. Sejuani helped them out, and then Faker just kept to the basics, kept pushing out and farming lanes. That's a top lane that you want to play with, and that is a great job by them. They gave all the attention of that top lane for FPS and the rest of the members to just run it down that bot lane there. I mean, that's the type of plays you expect to happen here when people have KDAs like that. And jumping back into the cohesiveness and the communication we were talking about earlier, it looked like Cerberus kind of lost a little bit after the first blood. And I mean, after 5 to 10 minutes here, you could see that they had the right idea, just no execution right there. And FPS, I mean, they look like clockwork. I mean, you throw something at them, they just kind of knew what to do instinctually there. So great job by both teams. FPS taking that game 1.
Yeah, that was dominant. I'll be real. It was a solid lane phase start for Cerberus. It looked like Ultimice was having his way in the 1v1, and then it was Batman that got involved in that lane and was able to help out the Mundo there. But yeah, that's the name of the game, is the fact that FPS was able to execute a lot better. They looked like they were playing more as a team. They kind of understood each other a little better. So some issues with maybe communication and the execution here for Cerberus ended up being the detriment to them. And that's a big confidence booster in game 1. They now improved to a 3-0 game record. They're up 1-0 in the series. And it's back to the drawing board now for Cerberus. They have to think about their team play. They have to think about maybe, okay, our composition didn't really work out too well. What can our adaptations be? What were the problem picks? And what did we struggle to play against on the side of FPS? So I'll ask you the question, Heat. What do you think was the big glaring issue with this draft? And what would be, if you had to pick one thing, what would be the one thing you would pick to change if you are Cerberus going into next game?
The one thing I will say to Cerberus is restart fresh. Even though it's game 2, say game 1 never happened. Even though you can take notes from it and know what the other team picked, follow along with the game plan, keep doing what you're doing. But what you need to do is be a little bit more proactive here. We've seen that as soon as Nocturne hit level 6, Shen hit level 6, Vex hit level 6, the champions that should be dominating the game right now and paving the way for a Cerberus game 1 win kind of got floated on the back end until FPS wanted to do something. You can't wait for the other team to want to start a fight or kind of be in an area for you to use as champions to their best abilities here. You need to send bodies at these champions and kind of pick them apart one by one, because together they're solid. And even when they're apart, they're still sieging here. So you got to end early, end quickly. FPS doesn't want to play around here. They don't want a 40-minute game. You can tell they got one huge lead off of that trying kind of suiciding on that dragon. They built that and steamrolled themselves and kind of avalanched themselves into a game 1 win here. All I got to say, start fresh. Game 1, keep your notes there, but just keep your head high. A lot of this game is about mental as well. If your mental isn't there, just because your communication wasn't there doesn't mean that they're enemies. Those are still your teammates, and you got to just keep this going and keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. Well, that was game number 1, and game number 2 we will bring to you. We are going to cut to a interview now with Conduit Esports Revelations top laner Fen Bach before we go to the break. So check this video out, and we'll see you afterwards for game number 2.
You had a 2-0 game against Sun Lero. Was that the expectation going in, or did you think it might go to game 3?
I mean, individually, it might be different than, like, the team. I expected to win. I had played against them in BOL on a different team, but a similar lineup, and I think we won 2-1 in that one. So I definitely, I expected to win. I don't know that I necessarily expected it to be quite the way that it turned out.
How were you feeling before the first week of Titan Games?
Pretty good. Conduit's one of those orgs that's like been around this scene for a while, as far as I know. And I don't really... I think they put up, like, good teams pretty much anytime they show up somewhere. So, and, like, I've heard of pretty much every player I'm playing with right now. Like, I knew of Glada, I knew of Manveer, and I knew of Raven, and then Derizen is, like, the captain, so I assumed he would be pretty good if Conduit's letting him run it.
Tell me about your teammates. Give me your first impressions on all of them.
Like, just pretty solid players all around. We haven't been able to do, like, tons of scrims yet, so I don't have, like, a perfect read on all of them yet, but they seem to get along really well, like, as 3 and as 4. I think the mid and bot are playing together in BOL as well. It just seems like things kind of click without needing too much external communication, which is nice. But there's still some stuff to work on, certainly, but we're feeling pretty good.
All right, let's do a speed round. 8 questions, super quick. Here we go. Sweet or spicy?
Spicy between those two.
Morning person or night person?
Night, for sure.
Blue side or red side of Summoner's Rift?
Blue.
Cake, pie, or neither?
Pie.
Which team will win Worlds?
Oh, God. GLBB? No, I'm rooting for LNG, personally, of the teams that I think have a chance.
What role would you play instead of top lane?
Either mid or support. I've played a little bit of both.
Who would you hang out with the most out of your teammates?
Ooh, I've talked the most with Derizen so far, so probably him.
Score prediction for your series this week against TPO Walking Wards.
TPO, I'll say 2-1 for us. I'm Fenbach, I'm the top laner for Conduit Revelation, and thanks for watching.
And we're back for game number 2. Funny Business Salesmen against Cerberus, with FBS taking the 1-0 lead here in the Titan Divinity League. Just moments before, if you're just joining us, my name is Ferris. This is Heat. And I heard I was having some microphone problems, and you guys might have been thinking, who's this guy that's joining the Divinity cast and now is giving us the horrible quality? Well, I think we've fixed the issues and apologize for that. But Heat, we saw ourselves quite the dominant game from FBS, and now Cerberus, it's their time to bounce back, and we're going to see what potential adaptations they're bringing in for game number 2.
Yeah, man, welcome back. Glad to hear your beautiful voice in full quality this time. It sounds amazing. FBS looking amazing. FBS looking very, very cohesive in their play style, very concise in their playmaking abilities as well. Leave it up to a guy with a faker in their name as well to just make the game-winning play in that last part of the game 1 here. Cerberus, like I was saying earlier, just let it go, wash it away. Never happened. Use your notes, take your abilities there. You guys are able to make plays happen, and you can tell by the way they played last game. I think Kaisa just wasn't the AD carry you needed in that situation there. Just wasn't able to get ahead or do anything really. Might want to throw a Lethal Tempo champion out there. Maybe an Ashe, maybe a Jinx, maybe a Varus, maybe something out there to make the other CC champions have a little bit easier of a time. How do you feel about the new Lethal Tempo?
Well, it's different. I think it functions, though, similar to, well, it does function similar. So I think the champions that did take the Lethal Tempo previously still enjoy Lethal Tempo. So it's something that maybe, Cerberus should go towards, is a Lethal Tempo carry like Jinx, like Ashe. I think they should play something more standard. You and I, we talked about front to back teams, and the standard way to play League of Legends front to back is the way that Cerberus should play. I'll be honest, with the glaring mistakes and the glaring problem I saw with them in the first game was they really weren't coordinated with their plays, and they absolutely had to be with the composition that they drafted. So if they go towards something that is more standard, there's less room for error and it's more intuitive to play. That is a way that I think Cerberus can actually find success in game 2. And part of that, like you said, he might come from a champion like the Jinx or the Ashe or maybe the Kog'Maw, if it's not banned, who do like the Lethal Tempo and function much better in compositions like that.
Yeah, I agree as well. Barolo, you can tell, wants to be a playmaker and wants to be a head commander of the Cerberus team. And I think with the right team comp, they can make that happen. Barolo showed a lot of skill in the Rakan, and Rakan teamed up with any AD carry that wants to stay alive is going to be a great addition to the team. Kaisa did a great job in laning phase. Again, just wasn't able to get into the team fights that were going on and do a lot of damage going on. Mundo was kind of out of the fights there too, so nobody really stand in front of that damage as well. And a lot of fights were taken into choke points that you don't want to be in at all. Against a Renata with that R, against Sejuani with the engage, against a Yone who was able to just make plays happen even though their laning phase did not go the way of their hand too. And don't forget that Ziggs throwing everything in their arsenal at that team and making a huge play with their damage.
So let's see what the changes. There wasn't a side swap. Cerberus still wants to stick to their guns and go on to the red side. As for bans, I assume that Funny Business Salesmen, they took care of business, no pun intended, in that game 1. So I assume that they're going to come out with the same bans. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's no real need to adapt. It didn't look like anything was any sort of problem for them in the game number 1. So they're doing that thus far. And I'm interested to see from Cerberus' side, though, they're sticking to the Udyr ban. And did they maybe take away the Yone? I was just, there it is. The Yone's gone, so that's not going to be played by Alpha. The big fate sealed in that Drake fight, Heat, if you can remember that. I mean, it's hard to forget. That was the big play that turned around the entire game for FBS and put them in a powerful position.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier too, with those Drake plays, I mean, one Drake isn't going to break the game for you, but you kind of making a hero play is going to, and that kind of, it not only gives the team a gold lead, but it gives the team confidence in their play style and playmaking abilities to be able to make plays against you a lot more. And talk about a playmaker who got Skarner on the map already.
And Skarner, one of the most powerful junglers right
Yeah.
now, wasn't really touched. I mean, on 14-19, a lot of items were changed up, but generally the power levels of these champions are around the same. This time around, though, it's the Sejuani that is going to be taken up here from Cerberus. So something that they're taking away from the side of FPS. The Skarner still could go into the top lane for T Faker if they wanted to. And there's the Ashe, like you and I talked about. So they might be listening into the stream here, Heath. They might be listening to our expert analysis. And
Don't listen to me because you're not gonna win my advice.
Hey, maybe they will. They're making adaptations nonetheless.
I'm hoping to see a Freljord comp. Maybe they throw a Lissandra in there. Maybe throw maybe a Trundle in the top lane too. If they're gonna send a Mundo at you, Trundle will definitely chomp and eat them up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and keep them out of that top lane. Seraphine Jhin, another just off the wall bot lane that's gonna do a ton of damage and be a menace there. We had the Ziggs Renata last game, so Seraphine Jhin, long range poke, a lot of damage on top of that, and can catch you off guard in those choke points. So if they want to play their objectives again on the side of FPS, they definitely can with those two champions.
And another thing about Seraphine that I love is her ultimate. I'm seeing a lot of great encore angles, similar to the way that Corey utilized the hostile takeover when they played Renata. Is the same way encore can be used to stop the engage from Camille, from Sejuani, these champions that want to go forward. They want to jive on your immobile AD carry. Well, Seraphine does a great job of peeling that. They also have long range engage that they can use with Encore as well. They also can utilize the Skarner, and Jhin can follow up with this long range engage using Curtain Call and all these tools. So I really like the synergy that's been built up here from the FPS team composition, and I'm interested to see what they put into this Camille. Is this a blind Camille, or maybe they believe the Skarner is going top and they can outscale it?
I mean, my sleeper champ of this patch has definitely been the Camille. Poppy always been a ride or die kind of top laner as well. Can go anywhere. If you want to send Seraphine mid and send that Poppy bot lane, got a little bit of flex picks going on. The Senna stands out to me as like kind of just there. I think the healing build got nerfed. If I'm correct, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I don't know where that really stands out. I guess the long-range ulti and the full team ulti, if you're making some picks happen. I need Camille to get out in that top lane and get out strong and come out fighting and swinging and keep that Poppy away from these team fights here on the side of FPS. Cerberus is going to have to work their way up from a uphill battle and make sure they can keep their mental straight here, because you definitely want to come out and force the game 3 in this one. And you're already down your last game series here. You don't want to start 0-2. It's so hard to work your way up from that point. And if you're going to hit 0-3, 0-4, you're going to start thinking about roster changes and stuff like that. So you don't want to get in that point. For FPS, keep doing what you're doing. Follow this one up. I think the FPS takes game 2 and ends the series out, though, even though I do like Cerberus' draft. I just think FPS has a lot more tankiness again and a lot more playmaking abilities out of the champions.
It feels like what they need to do is easier. They have a good top lane pick. The Poppy will have its way with the Camille stylistically, and it's sort of on the Sejuani here to play well with the Camille. You have the melee Sejuani pairing the same way that FPS had it in the Sejuani Yone last game. And the Senna does seem out of place. I absolutely agree with you in that assessment. It doesn't seem like it really does a whole lot in this composition. You feel like they would need some more engage, so it's not the Camille that's starting these fights and following up on something else. They have a range advantage, but it's tough to play range into the Jhin and the Seraphine. They play quite safe. And let's take a look at our pro comps here. But the thing is, pro comps last time said Cerberus had the advantage, and they ended up taking the L. So maybe this is some type of pro comps curse that we're seeing here. No, I agree with pro comps. 54% there for FBS's team. I think they have the edge. They seemed like the team with better execution in game 1. So the pressure right now, I do believe, on Cerberus to be able to sort of prove us wrong and see if they can bring it in game number 2.
Yeah, the only 2 lanes gotta be worried about here for Cerberus is gonna be that mid lane. Syndra and Natalia is gonna be a skill matchup, and I do believe that Alpha's gonna have an easier time compared to the Yone game that they had in laning phase with this one, with the range and with the damage coming out. And the bot lane here, Barolo did such a great job on the Rakan. I want to see if they're going to be as effective here on a ranged champion that kind of just hits the W and kind of just supports. It's a true support here. It's not a playmaker support. Definitely keep people alive, but did we go damage? Ash getting locked up here.
Ash is having a hard time. The thing about Ash is you want that range advantage, but you don't really have it into Jhin Seraphine. So they may struggle here to find advantages as the poke war continues between Corey and Barolo, but Barolo's happy to get those stacks. For the moment, it's actually push right now for Ultimice in the top side. So if Ultimice once again flexes their muscles in this 1v1, it could be the Camille that is a win condition later on. As this bot lane is as bloody as it gets right now. Back and forth trading. Fourth shot lands. Barolo's really low. This sucks for the Senna because now you have to play as cautious as ever, and you can't apply the pressure that you want to.
Yeah, I hate the back here too as well. Someone's just going to eat it, and then he's going to walk back up into lane. These are the most important parts of the laning phase here against the Jhin Seraphine. You want to be up in levels and hit level 6 first.
That's a big stun, though. Possible. Top side, Ultimice could be in trouble. Oh, I was thinking that Faker maybe had the damage there with the towers. But
you had me going too.
Analysis heat.
Well, I mean, at both sides of the map here, I can call both at the same time because of the leveling here. Poppy at level 6, Camille level 6. That's a big battle too for your laning phase and your wave states and everything like that as well. They both have TP, so Camille gonna pop that pretty fast at the 3-minute mark. Should have that back up around the 8-10 minute mark where they get the unleashed teleport. So not a bad play there. With that being said, Camille has to be the playmaker on this team with that Sejuani and get that damage off fast so Ash and the Syndra can follow up quickly and finish off those kills for you. I just need to see a little bit more momentum being brought out here from Cerberus. There's a great ward there stopping that gank from Sejuani. I don't think Skarner has any fear in their bones, though, against that Camille.
And Camille's wave is quite nice. Ultimice, though, might just take this 1 versus 1. The Steadfast Presence has already been used, so the hookshot will come through. The flash has to be burned. In comes Batman, but there's no real play to be had. Ultimice, again, showing that they are the better laner between the two top laners this time around. Look at the wave that T Faker has to back on. We'll definitely have to use the teleport to get back in time, as Lieutenant Flowers this entire time has been hovering the bot side, looking to try and make a play happen. It looks like the wave is in a pretty awkward state right now for Corey and Grim. They know that the Sejuani's around and on that ward will reset, but they don't quite know that just yet, so still having to play cautious in the bot side. Tension in this early game, but no one striking first yet.
There's only one thing I'm kind of getting off of this game too, is the respect level of it. Respect to know that Cerberus came out swinging in that game 1 and got first blood and a couple of solo kills in that bot lane there. So they're definitely playing a little bit slower here on the FPS side. Looking at Faker doing a great job. Doesn't have a flash, but they do know that Sejuani was the bot side. Gonna back, and now Sejuani will be on the Krugs in that top lane there. I don't think Faker will be in an issue to get away from these with that W and run away from the Sejuani. Can kind of block out that Q. So, I mean, Sejuani's have to make something happen quickly here. They're level 4, it should be level 6 in a minute or two here after clearing out their bot side. Well, no, they only have the Wolves up to, so they'll be level 5 and waiting a long time here to hit level 6. After that, spend a long time in that bot lane waiting for a play to happen. Sometimes you just want to force things out, get flashes down so you can come right back. Syndra caught on the mid lane.
Nice shove there from the side of Alpha. They're trading hard. The Cloud Drake is alive and is Lieutenant Flowers that's around here first. On the other side of the map is Batman, so if they fancy themselves a Cloud Drake, now is their time to go ahead and do that. And from what I see on the minimap, it looks like that has been started up with Barolo here as well to assist. We can see it in the picture-in-picture as Ultimice, now out of mana, having a harder time against T Faker, who did purchase that Ruby Crystal, got that back off. And here's the problem right now in the top side now that I'm noticing is that teleport is gone from the side of Ultimice and completely out of mana with this wave pushing in. After the grubs, we could see a potential dive angle if that's something that FPS wants to look for.
Yeah, I think FPS is kind of playing the slow game here. They want Cerberus to make the first mistake. I do like that they are splitting the map, though. Again, Grub's going to go over to the blue side of FPS again. But they have that split push comp again. With the Tally in the mid lane, can go bot lane after the laning phase. Can use her ultimate and TP to kind of... Oh, first blood in the dive in the bot lane.
Yes, it was. First blood. And so they get that one off. It's going to be, once again, Cerberus striking first. And the kill credit to Lieutenant Flowers down there. Nice job from Cerberus. They get themselves on the board early, and they might not be done yet. Look at the positioning that Alpha's in. And Lieutenant Flowers is here. They do have flash. It looks like they stood still there for a second. Maybe just asserting dominance, but no level 6. And the Talia was.
That might have been a mind game there that happened. 2v2 in the mid lane.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be a seismic shove attempt here. It's going to land. Very talented. Had the flash, is going to use it late. And the damage isn't quite going to come through, but the enchanted crystal arrow lands. But can Lieutenant Flowers do anything about this? They cannot. Arctic Assault away, but here's Ultimate solo bolo in the top lane loading and on its way. No flash for T Faker means they are certainly doomed to die. And the Camille is rolling in the top side.
Wow, I thought we'd see a 2v2, 2-kill lead in there from that mid lane for FPS. We'll get away by the skin of the teeth right there. The Asher are going to land. No follow-up being able to be had because Syndra was living on 1 health in the dream. Great job by Ultimate to know that there's no pressure in that top lane, and Faker was kind of living on the edge up there in that top lane after staying for so long. So great solo kill up there for that top lane of Ultimate and the Camille. Leo here. Solo in the bot lane. Skarner are going to be moving towards that bot lane as well. Level 6 does have the ultimate back up. Talia has ultimate as well. So they could force a dive down here on the Son of Ash if they wanted to later on in the game here. But, I mean, Jhin and Seraphine are really choking out this bot lane so far. They're up about 10 CS, and Seraphine going to back and, yeah, they're going to force some pressure down here in this bot lane.
They are indeed. They have 4 people inside of the river clearing away some vision. And still 2.5 to go on the Infernal Drake. So this is not why they're here. Going to try and take away the blue buff. But on the way is Lieutenant Flowers. Glacial Prison available. Barolo spots out Batman too. A lone Scorpion on the blue buff. This is a little illegal, they're saying. They're going to run him away. Blue buff going to reset. And there's a lot of tension, like I just mentioned, around this bot side. And here we go. Batman's going to start this fight off. Lieutenant Flowers is caught out. Arctic Assault away. Going to get stunned up, but is able to create enough distance so that this one is okay. And the bot lane has been pretty quiet aside from that first dive. So, yeah, it's going to be more of a later on impact here from both of these bot laners. Ash with the setup and Jhin with the scaling that he has. Unless I've just jinxed this and we see a lot of action down here, but it's been a slow start, and it's very similar to the way it began in game number 1 there, Heat.
Yeah, definitely. You can see FPS just kind of see what they can get away with. They don't want to throw too much out there. They're making plays happen, but they're not living and dying by these plays there. If they feel like it's a bad idea, even though they started that idea, they're not going to follow through with it and back that one up. Asher going down to the bot lane.
Arrow plus the Glacial Prison. This is the Frail Yord comp. You were talking about too much CC for the Seraphine to handle. 3-0 for Cerberus.
I mean, textbook play right there. Great job. And the follow-up was perfect. I mean, the timing, it happened before Seraphine was even able to think about what happened. So the Asher lands, couldn't even flash or exhaust to get themselves out of that fight or retaliate with their own ulti. And that'll put the bot lane up. Sorry, Sejuani got that kill right there. But not a bad place to go. Sejuani going to be the solo actual tank on this team here. So I don't mind them getting a little bit of gold. Could be a scuttle fight, though. 2v3 over here in the top lane.
3v2. This is good for Cerberus. They're going to go for the Scout of the Week. Lands onto T Faker. And T Faker's going to go down. There's the Impale. There's the Flash. But the Keeper's Verdict will not knock anyone away. And Encore onto 3 is big, but do they have the damage to take out the rest of Cerberus in this fight? Very talented. No Flash is going to drop to Alpha. Onto Lieutenant Flowers they go as well. Does not have the Flash available. Arctic Assault's going to create a lot of space. The beat drop won't land, but the Seismic Shove will. And it's FPS finally on the board, getting 2 kills and maybe now 6 grubs on top of it.
Talk about the butterfly effect of all butterfly effects. You took down Corey the Rose just for them to come in that top lane back with a vengeance and a seeing red bullseye right there on top of the ulti that they sent out to help out that fight. I thought that Cerberus had that fight dead to rights there, even though Faker sent out the ultimate, did not land because Camille had a great follow-up with their ultimate as well. And that'll be a 2 kills over to the side of them. You can see it started right here. So, I mean, Ultimite's looking very, very confident in this fight being started, and they sent out 2 more people. The mid laner very talented on Syndra and Lieutenant Flowers. And they're gonna start this one up. Faker getting completely bodied here by the Syndra. Follow-up hit's gonna go down as they flash away. Camille timing that up perfectly here. The crescendo and the ultimate here from the Seraphine gonna land on 3 people with the Talia upstart there, and they're gonna lock them down and just knock them down one by one. Flash from Flowers, they try to walk this one out, just not enough here. Flashing over here by Core of the Rose. Core of the Rose was not okay with being killed in that bot lane there, and they will make a play happen here in that top lane. Great job. You can see that Core of the Rose can play Seraphine and the Renata perfectly there.
And I also want to give huge props to Corey for actually being there for the roam.
Right.
It was the support advantage that FPS had, which brought them the edge in that fight. So the presence of the FPS support is getting them big things in game number 2, as they are behind, especially so in this top side. It's a 24 CS with a 2 kill lead for Ultimice. Once again, this is going to be the big win condition for Cerberus. Their Camille is going to scale. Their Camille is going to be the main person who's going to be able to take out backline targets, or at least lock them down with the Hextech ultimatum. So if this starts to fall apart, then it's going to be FPS that's in a nice spot. But for the moment, the Camille is unleashed in this game. Trinity Force, now completed, is going to pretty much have her way against the Poppy for the rest of the game, as long as this gap in the gold is maintained.
I'm not that much of a top lane player, but I mean, Camille has always been that kind of just that menace in the top lane that either somebody plays it or they don't, like a Fiora or a Darius, stuff like that. I'm not sure what happened this patch that made Camille a beast, but Camille has just been shown a lot here by some of these ride or die top laners that just got tired of playing tanks all the time. So I like that it's being showed out by Ultimice here, who was laid out on the Shen against that Mundo and now has a time to kind of be themselves here and not just kind of be that ulti bot to help out the rest of the team. They can sit up here on a pedestal and try and be that carry that they need here in this top lane. I think a lot of what Cerberus was missing was a solo split pushing laner there. Shen in the last game had to kind of leave during these pivotal situations, but now Ultimice, if they want to, they can fight or just keep taking down towers in that top lane. A lot of pressure here in this Rift Herald, though. Cerberus has been falling behind here on the top lane objectives, and they need to make this happen.
And now the Rift Herald is alive, and right now with control over the river is Cerberus. The presence of the Camille is also nice, so that it's very difficult if you are FPS to get into this pit, but they are posturing like they want themselves a fight. Around the Herald are both of these teams. Neither of them have started this one up yet. This is going to be a big fight, a fight that is going to dictate the pace of this entire mid game. And there is a massive impale that's going to go down onto 2. Very talented is taken off the board immediately. Ultimice into the back line, but immediately exhausted by Corey, and now has to retreat. Lieutenant Flowers front lining for the moment, getting very low. Batman about to fall. 1 HP. That's a huge seismic shove, though. It's going to knock 2 backliners into the entirety of FPS. They are outplaying their opponents right now, but Ultimice is on the board with the first kill for the side of Cerberus, but it's not going to be enough to win them the fight. It's huge. The Wombo combo heat was incredible, and they will get their prize.
Talk about Wombo combo that I didn't even think about or see coming right there. The Impale into the Encore, into the Jhin ulti, into the Talia ulti, into any ulti you want to throw at them. Plug and play right now for the side of FPS. And they're still going. You can see that Senna can't really keep up with the pressure that Seraphine has in this champ picks right now. The champ pool that's going on for Cerberus is lacking in the type of tempo that FPS has going on right now. I mean, go ahead and do it again, man.
Yeah, it was a clinical fight, and once again, the execution from FPS just looks a lot better. So here's the initial startup. They layer the Encore very nicely. Jhin ultimate coming through as well, and Ultimice's initial engage was canceled by the steadfast presence from the Poppy, so there's no backline access here for FPS until way later on, until they've already lost their Syndra, which is a key part of their damage. And after this, it's the numbers advantage from the side of FPS, and also that seismic shove was gorgeous. Again, Alpha being a key part for FPS's success. And here's another fight. That's the smite down, and that's going to take out Ultimice once again. Falling behind is this Camille, and FPS maintain their position. They hold their ground. They win themselves another fight. They're looking for potentially more. Barolo is going to be able to walk out of this one, but a 1-for-0.
The pressure is on for Cerberus, and you can tell Ultimice wants to be the hero of this team that they don't have going on for them. It's just not working out on the side of the Camille. Camille needs to just be sitting up there in that top lane. That's where they can win and win it out for their team by putting pressure up there and pulling people off these objectives. It can turn a 4v4, 5v5 into a 3v4, 3v5 if they have the numbers going down there. With that being said, Poppy already took down that top lane tower. There's no pressure in that top lane, no pressure in the bot lane, no pressure in the mid lane for Cerberus. They are backed up against a wall. They're between a rock and a hard place, between a Scorpion and a Talia wall. And they got to do a lot of climbing here to get yourselves back up to par and up to space here with FBS. A 2K gold lead at 17 minutes is actually insane. I mean, you could talk about inflation here. You could talk about it being like maybe a 5 or 10K gold lead going on later in the game here. So they're scaling up. Their percentages are going crazy. They're gonna have their first dragon of the game. Cerberus can't do anything about it because they don't have the ultimates to back them up here as Core of the Rose and
very talented. No, you're gonna be caught out here. The Deadly Flourish will miss, but they don't have flash. They can't get out of this one. Nice pick here for FBS off the back end of getting their first dragon of the game, stopping the stacking from their opponents now as we see a 1v1 in the top side as well. It looks like the Poppy, though, is getting the better of their counterpart this time around as Batman's found Lieutenant Flowers as well. Look at the damage here from Grim. Now going to use the Curtain Call, which follows up the flash from Lieutenant Flowers, but the Enchanted Crystal Arrow will deny the Jhin from getting any more shots and will save the Sejuani's life. Deadly Flourish will find a route, but that is going to be a skirmish in the mid lane that leads to no kills for either team. But Heat, the confidence now from FBS is becoming overwhelming for Cerberus.
And FBS is so they prioritize everything. They play everything all at once. They got the dragon, they stopped the mid lane, and they grabbed a bot lane turret all while that was happening here. They didn't lose anybody or anything for it. Core of the Rose still has ultimate still on the back end if they want to use it. I mean, it's getting real tough for Cerberus right now in the middle part of this game here. Even I was going to say this earlier, the problem with top lane is you feel like you left that lane for 30 seconds to a minute, and if your laner didn't leave that lane, you're behind now. And it gets so wishy-washy up there in the top lane where Ultimate is up 2 kills, a ton of gold, a ton of CS, and now they're going to go down solo bolo here in the top lane. I mean, Faker is back on top again, and maybe the turret goes down, yep, so that's a little bit of a win here. But I don't like this type of trades here when you're already down gold and you're already down kills and down momentum. It's just not worth it to put yourself out there unless you're going to fight these 5v5s or 3v3s or anything like that in the later part of this game here. You're putting yourself on thin ice, and it's just not worth it against a team like FBS that is just so cohesive and so concise in what they're playing. I mean, Ripto is going to go down right away. They don't stop.
They don't stop. And Camille is one of those champions where if you do get a lead, you still have to wait for your spikes, and Ultimice hadn't quite done that yet. So falling victim to trying to group with the team and falling behind for it as Batman's flashing forward now, going to try and get out. We see a little bit of freeze in the spec, but we're back. We're here. The fight is going down. It's FBS that gets the first kill. The beat drop will stun up Barlow, and into the fight goes Faker. Can't quite find the damage there, but Alpha's there to get that kill down. But another huge seismic shove will bring Lieutenant Flowers and Gabriel Leo into the play. Batman underneath the tower is going to be hit by Ultimice's hook shot, and they get the 600 gold shutdown onto the Camille, but the damage follow-up from the side of FBS is insane, and the curtain call shot took down Gabriel all the way behind the tier 2. The team fighting from Funny Business Salesmen is elite in this series.
I know there's some poor person right now who left to get a snack or use the bathroom and like, okay, the game's pretty even. It's been 5 minutes, and now there's one team winning and one team in the lead right now. They are in a driver's seat of a Indy car right now, going 200 miles per hour right towards the nexus of Cerberus as they go right towards a Baron. It's been play after play after play. They went from A, B, C, D. They're going to work their way all the way up to Z. They don't stop. They keep making plays over and over again, and these plays are cut and dry. They don't have to work towards anything. They just kind of make it happen with their play style and their champions that they picked here. Blue team going to take down that Baron without a jungler, and there's nothing that Cerberus can do about it.
And I have to give my sort of not my gratitude, but I have to give a shout out to all of Batman, Corey, and Alpha here. These guys are playing an insane game, and they're all the setup that
Batman started right there. I mean, look at that flashing.
Yeah, you just flashing. I mean, that one wasn't so great, but there's the seismic shove to get the pick onto the very talented. The encores have been nice. That impale missed. Okay, Batman, we put you on the spotlight and you had a tough fight there. Okay, we're sorry, but you had some good impales in the earlier fights.
Talia doing all the work there, obviously, but I mean, Batman flashing in and taking all the damage here, soaking everything up for the rest of his team to make the plays happen. As Alf was able to walk into all the faces here of that time that Cerberus spent running at the Skarner. You can see that Jin landed that last shot too. Ultimice is caught out again.
Could potentially get hookshot to get out of this one, but not quite going to get it in time, and the entirety of FBS collapse. That's another pick onto this top laner, and now you and I were talking about the lead that Camille had. It's gone because you don't have time anymore to scale. You are behind, you can't walk too far out of your base, you can't really get a lot of resources, so you're back to square one, and again, 6-0 to Leah. It's hard to play into this champion. Constantly getting picked out is the carries of Cerberus. And it feels like this game has been the exact same as game number one. Early lead for Cerberus into just a steamroll here from Funny Business Salesman in the mid game, as potential solo kill from T Faker onto Gabriel. Leo has to burn the flash. That doesn't bode well for the Cerberus AD carry.
Going to be a dragon started there for FPS, their second of the game. And Ferris, there's a lot of times that I have been fed in the bot lane, and the rest of my team has just not been on par with where I am at in my game state. I'll have 2-3 items, the rest of my team maybe has one and maybe 20-30 CS less than I do. And I try to make plays happen, and it's not going to work. And that's how I feel that Ultimice is right now. They want to force a game 3.
Walking into a whole bunch of people. This might be too overzealous. They have Sterix. They get the Impale onto Lieutenant Flowers, but too isolated from the team. There's a pick for Cerberus. It's small, but it's something.
And sometimes you get by with a little help from your friends right there. Ultimice called in some help and finally got it. And look at that. They come out with a positive play there. Down about 6k gold and 8 kills, but they're tied up on dragons. And this Baron play is really the missing factor that Cerberus is going to have to work towards negating here in the middle part of this game. 23 minutes in. The gold is insane here on the side of FBS. The CS lead is over to the top and jungle of the side of Cerberus, but the rest of the team for FBS is making all the plays happen. I mean, honestly, the CS is great on all sides of the map here. A little bit of a replay here on the Batman pick. Batman trying to get some deep vision, use the E, so nowhere to go after that, and they're just kind of caught out here by the CC and the tankiness of the rest of the team. Ultimice getting the last landing blow, and Syndra gonna get 1v1 here by the Jin. Wow. Okay, you don't see that happen too often.
No, you don't. But that's the situation that has presented itself in this game. Is we have an unusually large lead for FPS. This Syndra has struggled in this game. Is struggling to farm. Only has 170 CS in the bank. 0 and 5. The Storm Surge Rush. It's a lot of burst, but you don't really deal a lot of damage since you're behind. So it's been a hard one. And now Gabriel, we jump back to the mid lane. Picked off here. They tried to push out. They can't quite get it. And then FBS, they make them pay for it here as they now siege up the mid lane looking to try and crack the base.
Yeah, Talia being slept on right now, being the main playmaker. Faker getting a solo kill on the Camille. It's all downhill for Cerberus. This could be the end of the game.
There's an encore, and now the Impale as well is perfect. Lieutenant Flowers is certainly going to go down. The coronation is just much better for Funny Business Salesmen. They're showing it on display here. They know what they're doing. They feel like they are a team that is right on the same page with everyone else. They get the inhibitor heat. They might just push for the end. They didn't have the Baron anymore. That did fall off, but Faker's going to move up from the top side. The Scatter the Weak lands onto one. First Nexus tower is down. They have 6 grubs, so they eat through this tower with ease. Barolo does 0 damage, flashes away from the Deadly Flourish. But now this Senna is very vulnerable here. Very talented force to frontline for the squad, but that's not what you want. The Syndra is down. Ultimice out of the fountain now, going to try and protect this Nexus. But you have to believe that this is the end of the road for Cerberus. They have run out of gas in their tanks. They've stopped dead. And that will be the 2-0 victory for FBS in the 4-0 game record here in the Titan Divinity League as they improve to 2-0.
FBS looking like a couple of terminating robots out there. Just 1 goal and 1 goal only. Hit 25 minutes, have a lead, and run it down to the Nexus. I mean, these players are knowing when and where to take fights, when and where they can lead a fight into a victory. I mean, it's so copy-paste game 1 to game 2. I mean, they got the lead. They took advantage of their lead. Talia completely owning this game right now. I mean, they let Syndra into a 0-6 graveyard right there in that mid lane. doing 21,000 damage. Jhin following up too. That's a lot of damage for a Jhin in the middle of the game as well. And then you can see Camille slowly up there in that top lane for Cerberus with the 23k damage here. And it honestly, man, I think it all goes back to the Senna. I don't know what Senna kind of was the pick here for. I think it needed more engage here. I think it needed more somebody to follow with that Camille. I mean, Camille just wanted to fight, and I think they could have won a lot of these fights here if there was a lot more presence in the map there. I mean, Syndra being behind is definitely going to affect you, but if you give Syndra time to scale, FPS doesn't want to give you that time, though, and that's why they won both games here tonight. I think they're in a league of their own. They might be the team to beat just because their play style. It's so hard to keep up with that. It's like early Korea days in Worlds.
Yeah, they really did look that dominant. And I like your point about the Senna. It felt out of place in the comp. It didn't really feel like it fulfilled a role that the team needed. And the game was good, once again, in the early game for Cerberus. They had the lead with Camille. And the fight at the Rift Herald that FBS ended up winning was the fight that turned the game. And it could have went both ways. It went FBS's way. And then at that point, if you're Cerberus, you need to dial it back. You needed to get your Camille to a point where she feels strong in the game. And they didn't really take their foot off the gas when they should have been more mindful. And they tried to fight again and again and again. And that's exactly what FBS wanted. And that's what really starts the snowball for them, is they keep getting these fights that they want. And then that transitions into huge gold leads. And then the game is spiraling out of control. So another thing to work on, I think, for Cerberus is to make sure that when a play doesn't go their way, they reassess the game state and then they try and get back to a point where they feel that they're strong enough to contest, because Ultimice got caught up too much in the fights there, lost the lead against T-Faker, and well, when T-Faker gets that gold back, a bunch of solo kills happen. That player played like an absolute beast in the top lane. But if you were to give your MVP here for FBS, who do you think was the most impactful for the squad across the first, or across those two wins for them?
That's a rough one here because they all kind of showed out in this one.
Yeah.
There's some like crazy standout plays though. Faker with that Mundo play in game one. I'm all about finishing though. And I think Alf in that mid lane, both games were pretty good, but that Talia game, I mean, they were shining so they're just so shining hard on that mid game and of game two, and they made sure that they were able to close out the games in this one. And they were also playing Peel and Control in front of their Jhin. Godson was not even touched in the last couple of fights there. Corey the Rose doing a great job too. So I'm gonna give it over to Alf just because I like the way they closed out that game too. But honestly, it's hard to pick out of all five members here. Corey the Rose probably my backup on the co-MVP.
Yeah, a lot of people, they don't give supports enough credit.
Yeah.
I think Corey played a fantastic series.
That Renata was crazy.
The Renata was crazy. The encores were really good, following up on the impales and also moving around the map too very effectively to give FBS those fight wins that they desperately needed when they were falling behind in the early game. So yeah, shout out to pretty much everyone though on FBS. And for Cerberus, hopefully next week they can pull it together and get some wins on the board, because after an 0-2 start, they definitely need that. But that was Group B of the Titan Divinity League here. FBS with a dominant showing, they improve to 2-0, and that will do it for myself and Heat on the caster desk today. Thank you everyone for showing up for this stream. I hope you have a wonderful night. I want to give a quick thanks to our broadcaster Chris and our observer Sherigan. Thank you for doing that, guys. You are amazing on the back end of the stream, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good night, everyone.
I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you